Welcome back to RacinBoys. I'm Scott Traylor. I'm with Kirk Elliott. Joining us in the studio now is Morgan Lucas. Morgan, congratulations on the success you've had this year, man. Pretty good start.
It's been the best start to a season I've ever had in my career. Just really excited about it.
Yeah. Let's start off out at Pomona, man. It seems like you have a ton of success at that track. Is there something about Pomona that makes you comfortable when you show up out there?
I grew up probably, 25 minutes from there, and the first drag race I ever went to was right there in Pomona. So it's got a special place in my heart for sure. And I just, for whatever reason, I went back when I was racing top alcohol dragster. I set a national record there in '03, or excuse me, end of '02, and that was a dream come true. And it just seems like every few years there's something cooler that I can go back and say this is another special memory.
2012, though, what a great start. Gator Nationals and everything that's going on. It seems like if you can get past that first round, man, things go good for you.
Well, that's exactly it. It's funny. Before the season started, when we hired Aaron and Rod, the guys that are running the car right now and kind of spearheading the whole team, I was kind of thinking we set some realistic goals, get a few number one qualifiers, maybe win a race or two, and just try to be able to put ourselves in a position for a top 5 finish at the end of the year, minimize first-round losses. And these guys have surpassed my expectations by a long shot, but that's just because they're both young, aggressive guys. They're great personalities, and they have confidence in what they're doing. And to be honest with you, I didn't picture this. I didn't anticipate this kind of a start to the year.
Yeah, Antron and he defeated you, and then you come back and you got it back when it matters. I mean, it's all right to beat him like in the semifinals or lose to him in the semifinals, but to beat him in that final round, man, that had to feel good.
That guy's been kicking my butt for a few years now, and it felt good to get one back. I mean, he's such a great competitor, good dude. I mean, he is
great guy,
amazing for our sport.
Huge ambassador for the sport, isn't he?
He really is, and he brings a whole new aspect of just personality, something that we just never had. And I'm just glad he's part of it, and hope to God he races for a long, long time. But when you have to race a guy like that, you want to step up, and there's nobody makes me nervous to race him like him, just because he's always on his game. He's always fun, but he's always the first guy to come over and give you a hug afterwards and say good job or tell you, hey, next time you'll get me or whatever. He's just a good sport.
Yeah.
No doubt your performance has increased by the new tuners you have on the car. How did you go about the process of finding the guys to work on your race car?
They came by good recommendation. And to be completely honest, I tried getting Aaron to come work for us a few years ago, but he was always a funny car guy. And funny car guys are very particular. They love their hot rods over there, and it's just because there's such a challenge involved. And just the recommendation that came through from Alan Johnson, actually. He's the one that I confided in him a lot towards the end of the last season. He was kind of giving me some direction to keep us going until we could find a good crew chief, somebody to come in and fill that role and, fill that gap. And, he just said, Aaron's a great guy. He's really aggressive, and I think he'd be a good fit for you. And, we brought him on board, and ever since then it's just become a great relationship, and it's just been a lot of fun.
What kind of an impact has Brandon Bernstein been to your team, bringing him on as a teammate, and how you're able to share information
with all that experience?
Cars?
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? It's funny because he is amazing in so many aspects of what he does, and it's fun to watch him on the business side of it because he knows how to talk, he knows how to shake hands, he knows how to meet people and talk to fans, and just. He knows the game. He knows how to do the business end of this, and I think it came from years of great training from his father, and he also has a great personality. That team over there is so behind him just because he's such a good person, and he knows how to just be a good team player, and it's kind of something our team has needed from the teammate aspect for a long time. Sean Langdon was a great guy. He's a great teammate, but there's just something about Brandon that he just brings that to the table, and those guys just. Whatever it takes, if he's struggling with something, they're right behind him. They're coming to tell me whatever he needs, we'll do it, whatever.
He had a pretty good teacher, though, didn't he? I mean, let's face it. Kenny was the master of marketing back in the day, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we think of John Force. Obviously, he has got to be the grand poobah of all marketing, but Kenny Bernstein's right there with him.
I look at Kenny a lot like I look at my dad, because Kenny, I think, in our sport was one of the first people, if not the first person, to really, I think, take it to the next level. And he did it from the driving aspect. He did it from the management aspect. And my dad did that with Lucas Oil Products, and he just keeps trying to grow it. And Kenny was trying to do that for a long time too. But I think, the sport changed direction so much, and it's one of those things that Brandon had a great foundation, and he's just building off of right now. And I think what's awesome about it is Brandon's really working hard at making a name for himself and just moving forward with that.
Yeah, and it was a pretty great honor what they did for Kenny this year too.
Oh, Kenny, he's a super guy, and the fact that they're honoring him in the sport, and it's got to be hard for a guy like that to have to come back and watch everybody else having fun. And
because he thinks he can still get it done.
I guarantee he could hop in my car and probably do a better job than I do in it, and that's just because he's got that mindset. There's nothing that is too difficult for him. He just wants to get in and be the best he can at all levels.
Right.
Yeah, you had to learn a lot. I don't think there's anybody better than Kenny Bernstein at servicing a sponsor and getting the most out of sponsor dollars.
One thing I can say I learned from him, it's how to subtly say Geico in an interview.
That's right.
Ease it in there, right?
Yeah, you just got to roll it in.
Yeah. Heartland Park, Topeka this weekend. Your thoughts about that racetrack? We've seen a lot of great races up there. We've seen a lot of wild things happen up there as well. You've got some wind up there that you have to deal with from time to time. The conditions, it could be cool, it could be hot. Your thoughts about Heartland Park, Topeka?
In the years past, I never thought we had a good race car in the heat, and typically this is a hot racetrack. What I like about it is it adds a lot of cool elements, a lot of layers for the fans. You can have fast racing, like you said. If the clouds roll in, the track can be really good and tight. But when it's hot out, you get a lot of pedaling contests. You get a lot of cool dimensions that a lot of people don't get to see when you go to somewhere like Pomona. So it's a fun race, beautiful facility, and the great campgrounds. It's just a fun atmosphere all the way around, and I love coming out here. And to be honest with you, this is the first year I think this Geico Dragster actually has some really good potential to maybe even go out and try to win, just because we've just been working hard at this tune-up. We tested after Atlanta. We struggled a little bit during the race, and we found some stuff. And to be honest with you, it's one of those things that I'd love to have a trophy from this race.
Yeah, Atlanta is a track that's been pretty good to you too. Is that where you picked up your first Top Fuel win?
Yeah, it is. Actually, 2005, I got my first number one qualifier there, and got my first win there. It's kind of fun. A little suiting, I guess, if you can get first at the same racetrack. But struggled a little bit there, and you know what? It's all right. There's going to be those races, especially when you're looking at the long term. Because this year, like I said, we set reasonable goals. I feel reasonable, and I think that in the future, so we're working on a 3-year plan right now. You got to start somewhere, and we're just building this data, getting these runs in, so that way we know how to adjust to these certain tracks and conditions.
Talk about 1,000 foot. We've been doing that now for a while. I know you guys are probably tired of talking about it, but the fact is, I think the fans don't really notice the difference. The action seems to be better. It seems like the finishes are closer. And it seems like some of the have-nots have been able to kind of catch up with the guys that maybe had the advantage on those last 300 feet.
Exactly. NHRA had to make a decision after what happened with Scott Coletta and some of the great racers we had that passed on. It's a dangerous sport. By all means, a very dangerous sport. But 1,000-foot racing, and it just like we predicted when they made the decision to do it, is the fuse on these things, you can cut the fuse however long you want it to be.
Right.
So we figured out a way to go 320, actually 330 miles an hour to 1,000 foot now, and it's amazing. And you got to think, if we're going a quarter mile, that means we could probably go in 340.
Right.
And it's almost scary for certain manufacturers like Goodyear. They have to uphold a certain integrity and certain speeds. The tires are built for a certain thing, and they're doing a great job getting us good parts. But the NHRA, they have to make good heads-up decisions, and the fans. Early on, you're going to have a certain group of people that are just going to bitch about it just because they want to bitch about it.
The hardcore drag enthusiasts are going to be that way.
Exactly.
Right.
But now, if you think about it, the driver's so much more involved. There's a lot more hole shot wins now, a whole lot more hole shot losses. And I guess it kind of goes hand in hand, obviously. But the fact that the racing is that close now to where the driver has to work his butt off to be the best he can be,
right.
It's fun to be part of that.
When you talk about the expense of running the quarter mile versus 1,000 feet, we saw a lot of detonation problems in those last 320 feet. Has the cost came down, or has the cost went up since they backed down to 1,000 feet?
It depends on who you're asking, but I'll be completely honest. I think the cost is right where it was, if not more. Just because
you always find a place to spend the money.
You always find a place to spend the money. You always try to pick something up. You're always trying to make a part better. And it's, in all honesty, you wouldn't be able to race in the sport without good sponsors, just because, for us, if Geico wasn't there, I think we'd probably be running one car right now. And I can't even say I'd be the one driving it.
Right.
It's just because it costs so much money to do this, and especially to do it right. You have to have the right amount of people to service the parts and be able to put the car together between rounds. And a lot of the cost comes from salaries and your basically day-to-day costs of salaries, hotels, travel, things like that. And if you don't have those 10 guys, you're not going to make sometimes these 45-minute to an hour turnarounds when you have weather, things that kind of happen. You have to be really fast. And a lot of people think, oh, you're just drag racing. That's not that long. That's a long time. Well, when you have to rebuild a complete motor, and or if you have a fire and change a lot of wires and replace a lot of things, it's not a lot of time at all.
Yeah.
How do you like that new Christmas tree? Is it harder or easier at the line?
Oh, the LEDs are awesome. The only thing is at nighttime when it's really dark out, they're so bright and they come on so fast compared to the old style bulbs that they almost startle you.
Really?
Yeah, and not necessarily. I think in the beginning it was worse. Not necessarily a startle, but kind of one of those things like, holy crap, that's just
right.
that was fast.
Whoa,
that was on.
quick.
It's bright.
Right,
And, it's like a flash bulb almost. And during the day, it's nice because the lights are a lot more crisp. You can see them. And reacting to them, I think it's been a lot better, a lot more consistent. To be honest with you, I think, a lot of people give the NHRA a hard time as far as racers because of the decisions that they have to make. But you're not always going to make everybody happy. And they've just given us such a good platform. They keep working for us, and they keep listening to our decisions and our opinions. And, we don't know anything about marketing, but we know a lot about racing, and these guys, they're really good about taking our opinions into account.
What do you think of four-wide racing that they have at Charlotte?
I hate it.
I was wondering about
common
that.
thought.
It's funny because the first year that they had it, they started this petition. Like, there's a lot of racers that got in this thing, signed this thing about, we don't want to do it anymore, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Well, then when it came down time to, people are asking them or interviewing or whatever else, and everybody's just like, oh, no, it's great, it's fun, it's this, that, and the other.
That's not what they were saying behind the scenes, though.
Oh, exactly.
Right,
And to
Let's
me,
be
it's
real.
like, it's a hypocrisy. If you're going to say it here, say it there. And I was the only one that actually, for the most part, stood up and said, you know what, it's a gimmick. And I appreciate the fact that Bruton Smith is looking out for our sport, and he's trying to find fun, creative ways to do it. And the guy's amazing. Our sport wouldn't be where it was today if it wasn't for him. But, there's a big button there.
Yeah.
This should be a non-points race. This should be a kind of a cool race, bigger purse, kind of like the old Winston Shootout used to be, or the Showdown, or whatever it was. I wasn't racing Top Fuel back then, so I don't know. But
Right.
I think if they found a creative way to put the race on, it'd be a lot more fun.
When you do the four wide, do you feel that there's a disadvantage? Like, if you're just going one-on-one, then if you make a mistake in that one round, but you still are able to get that win, you can come back and fix that mistake. When you put four up there, that limits how many passes you get, so it kind of takes that away from you a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, exactly. We only get four runs in qualifying, and at this point, we're stuck to one run in each lane, where normally we have two runs in each lane. And that changes your paradigm of how to approach the racetrack, because sometimes you have to go in a lot more conservative, or if, in my case, you got a crew chief that just loves to go for the gusto. He's going to get after it every time, and each lane might be a little bit different, and they are. Yeah. But it's just part of the element of that racetrack, and we learned a lot testing the day after the race, just trying to figure out where we were. And actually the first lap out would have been low ET of the race and testing, and it's just because we learned we're going the wrong way with the car. Mm-hmm. But bottom line is you got to, I don't know. I think drag racing is, by definition, in my opinion, one-on-one, heads-up racing. And I feel like the four-wides, it's got some really cool aspects, but I even feel like the fans get a little disadvantage.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention your dad. Obviously, Lucas Oil has been great sponsors of the RacinBoys for several years now, with the Chili Bowl Nationals and the Lucas Oil ASCS Sprint Car Dirt Series presented by MAV TV. Mm-hmm. And we've been very blessed to have Lucas Oil on board with us. But the one thing that I love about your dad, and we had lunch with him here a few weeks ago, and I talked to him about this. We were up at Heartland Park for the NHRA Nationals, and we're down there in the burn-off area, and we're standing over there, and I'm trying to get a little video for the website and all, and I look over there, and there's Forrest. He's standing over there behind all the cars, and I look at him, and he looks over at us, and, we're just the RacinBoys, you don't know, and he waves at us, and he comes over and he talks to us. And the thing that cracked me up the most was when he came over, he had rubber all over his face, like he'd been down there for hours. He loves NHRA drag racing, doesn't he?
I could say that he loves NHRA drag racing, but I'd be lying if I didn't say he just loves motorsports
He
in
does,
general.
yeah.
He's a lover of all kinds of cars and hot rods, and the guy has like a storage bin of useless information in his head, but he's got a big section of that reserved for different types of motors, engines, transmissions, things like that over the years that he's been around. He knows, so much about cars. It's amazing, but he's a good old boy. My dad has stayed true to his roots in so many aspects, and he loves people. He loves to hang out and talk and BS. He likes people that aren't hanging on for something. Just real people that don't have an agenda. He just likes to BS.
Right.
I heard your mom, Charlotte, likes the drag racing even more than he does.
Oh, she does. Believe me, I don't think he'd probably be quite so financially involved in the sport if it wasn't for her.
Super Comp? Or?
She races Super Comp, yeah. When she can. She's on the DL right now. She's got a neck injury a little bit, kind of. Well, no, it's not bad. It's just her doctor recommended she just take it easy and let it heal up before she gets back in the car, because sometimes that thing could be real rough on her, especially she's a little frail.
Yeah,
I love her to death, but she has fun. She does good. Most of the time when she loses is because me or Brad, her crew chief, we make a bad decision as far as what to set her car up with.
She beat your dad once too, didn't she? In a sand drag race or something one time?
Yeah,
I think it was on TV even.
It was. It's televised. She whooped up on him, and she beat me too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well,
her reaction time's pretty good then.
Oh,
right?
no, she does good. She's got she's got good flinch or twitch muscles or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. How involved are you, before we let you go, with Lucas Oil Products and what goes on the business side of it? Obviously, there's going to be a day to when somebody besides Force is going to have to run it. Are you working on that role in the future, or what's the plans for you as far as when it comes to the company?
I probably should have got involved a lot sooner. But you're a young kid getting to live your dream, driving race cars.
Right,
And I still am a young kid, but it's you don't get a chance to stop and think about the future that much, because you're just enjoying it. And I've recently started studying, understanding, learning certain elements of the products, and just talking to people and just trying to ease into the initial phase of it. But I don't know what the future is for me involved in the company. All I do know is I don't offer and hand out sponsorship dollars.
Yeah, right. You know where those dollars are going. They're going right over to your team, right?
I'm spending my inheritance. I can tell you that right now. But it's a great company to be involved in. My dad's built a really fun family-based operation, and a lot of people probably think a company this size has thousands of employees, and we don't.
Well, I know it. They do it a lot with very little. And Lucas Oil Productions does a great job. We interact with those guys a lot when we're out on the road, and we see what they do when they're out there. So, I will tell you, I would just want to say good luck to you. I personally root for you, obviously, because of our relationship with Lucas Oil and Forrest, and it's just a pleasure to have you in our studio and come in and talk about what's going on at Heartland Park Topeka this weekend.
Well, I definitely encourage everybody to come out, because I think they're going to love it and have a lot of fun. I think once you see a good drag race in person one time, you'll be hooked.
All right, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, that's Morgan Lucas. We'll be back with more here on RacinBoys in a moment.